After 5 years of waiting, it is finally here. Today, Sony announced their new mirrorless video-oriented full-frame camera, Sony a7S III. The S in Sony a7S II used to stand for sensitivity, which to me always sounded like a type of toothpaste. Now with a7S III, what they're saying is the S stands for speed, even supreme. To which I say, I'm not buying it. That's not the case. We all know the S stands for hope. And I hope that the specs that we're seeing about this camera matches what the camera can do when it arrives. Because I'm not buying ice blocks and a leaf blower to cool down my camera so I can film for a couple of minutes. Sony a7S III, just like S2, is a 12.1 megapixel camera. The sensor on Sony a7S III is a backside illuminated sensor which gathers more light compared to the conventional structure sensor. Now you may be asking, why 12.1 megapixel camera where we have 108 megapixel cameras in our pockets? Because when the megapixel count is low, especially on a full frame sensor, that means the size of the pixels are bigger, and bigger photo sites gathers more light, which means a lot better low light performance. And since all we need for a 4K footage is 8.5 megapixels, 12 megapixels is actually plenty. Plus, 12 megapixels goes easier on the processor as well. Talking about processors, a7S III has the brand new Bionic XR processor in it, which is 8 times faster compared to its predecessor, and it is capable of 2 times faster readout speeds, and it minimizes the rolling shutter by 3 times. It has a 9.44 million dot electronic viewfinder, which I'm guessing is gonna look better than real life. It can do 4K full pixel readout without binning in all modes. It can record up to 4K 120 frames per second with audio in 10-bit 422. In H.264 and H.265, it can record up to 280 megabits per second, and in all intra mode, it can record up to 600 megabits per second to a memory card that is rated V90 or higher, and it doesn't have a 29-minute video recording limit. Here we go, no prompter. It can record full frame 4264 by 2408, 60 frames per second, 16-bit RAW to an external recorder. When it comes to slow motion, it can record up to 240 frames per second in 1080p. The 10-bit S-Log2 and S-Log3, which starts from ISO 640, gives you 15 plus stop dynamic range, and it can shoot 10-bit HLG. It has 759 phase, 425 contrast auto detection points, which covers 92% of the screen, and the base ISO starts from 90 and goes up to 102,400. Sup, Gerald? It has 5.5 step optical in-body image stabilization, and on top of that you can apply electronic image stabilization if you turn on the active mode, and it doesn't wobble like Canon R5. It has 2 SD UHS-2 memory card slots that also accepts brand new CF Express Type A memory cards that has 700 megabytes per second read, 800 megabytes per second write speeds. You can choose to record video simultaneously on both of the memory cards. You can choose relay mode. You can choose to record video in one of them and photos to the other. Also, the menu is brand new. They changed the menu. Finally, we don't need to memorize the menu. I'm so happy about that. Also, you can touch the menu. We had the touch screen on alpha cameras and most Sony cameras already, but now you can control the menu using touch, and the touch response is a lot faster compared to the previous alpha cameras. Plus, it has a flip out screen, When it comes to overheating, Sony says you can shoot 4K 60 frames per second video up to 1 hour, but I feel like it's gonna take a little longer than that to overheat this camera, which costs. Sony didn't stop there. There are a lot of tweaks and changes in this camera. It has a dedicated record button where C1 used to be. You can customize the screen display. You can have a separate photo mode and a video mode. And what I mean by that is when you set your camera to a certain aperture and shutter speed in video mode, when you switch to photo mode, it keeps those values. With a7S III, now you can have separate values for photo mode and video mode. So when you switch back to photo mode, you don't have to adjust your settings. It has 10 frames per second in burst photo mode. It has 10% crop in 4K 120 frames per second, and the rest I don't know, but I'll be testing as soon as I get my hands on this camera. When it comes to autofocus, the autofocus is faster and eye autofocus is better. Also, there are a couple of new tweaks where you can make adjustments to how you want the autofocus to move from one point to the other. You can have simultaneous display on your camera and on your external monitor at the same time. It has 2.4 and 5 GHz wireless connection, which means transferring your files over Wi-Fi is going to be a lot faster. The USB-C port on this camera is USB-C 3.2 and it supports PD. And it weighs only 614 grams, which makes this camera the lightest alpha camera compared to a7 III, a7R III, and a7R4, and Canon R5. Wow. This is not an incremental update to Sony Alpha line. This is a brand new beast, and we all waited so long for this camera, and it seems like it's going to deliver. I still will see when I get my hands on the camera, but from here, what it looks like, it's going to be something that I'm gonna enjoy a lot. I'm really glad they didn't go for features that they cannot fully deliver. Instead, they gave us a machine that does what it says on the paper. I'm very happy. I feel like I can push this camera by setting it to 10-bit 422 whenever I need to shoot a project that requires a lot of grading and editing. I think 4K 60, switching to 4K 60 can be an option for me now. I'm very excited. This is a good camera. I have to tell you that I'm really happy with what's going on in the camera world lately. The 12K Blackmagic camera, 8K R5, this one, we are in the new era now. It started, and from here it's only gonna get better. So I'm very excited. We're actually in an era where now our computers are not good enough to edit these footages. And on top of that, some cameras work for some people and some cameras work for the other. For example, I can never have a camera, I will not go back to that ever again, that overheats. I am not going back to that. I'm a one-man band. That camera stays there and runs for hours, 3 hours. For the Last of Us video, that camera was there recording for 3 hours. So I can't have a camera that may overheat. But you may be doing something else where you can just shoot for 2 minutes and wait. Then that is an amazing camera. These are all amazing opportunities for us creators. What matters in the end is what you create, finding the right tool and creating something with it. Because if you're not creating, you're just trying to brag about the numbers that writes on the box. So make your pick according to your needs and embrace and enjoy that camera. If I really wanted 8K, I would have found a way to cool that Canon down and use it in this environment. But as you know, what really matters is what you think. Please let me know what you think about a7S III and where these cameras are going in the comment section below. And until I see you the next time, take really good care of yourselves. And hoşça kalın.